Please listen carefully.
Hello, I am the Ronin Born.
And I am Harvey, and welcome to Harv and Porn episode Who Knows Anymore? Right? Because I've lost count.
We've definitely stopped counting. Hello, Mosaic Task Force, and thank you for the subscription, the pre-show subscription. You got into the pre-show window for subscriptions, you know, where the really cool people subscribe. But that doesn't mean you're not cool if you subscribe now. If you subscribe now, that's all just a different tier. It's not a lesser tier of coolness, it's just a different...
Mosaic, how are you doing, man? It's always nice to see you here. Thank you for subscribing. This is your 5th month of subscribing. Jesus Christ.
Have we been doing it that long?
That we've been doing it that long. Let alone that you've been subscribing that long. Thank you very much. And yes, I would love to share a mug with you. That would be most raunchy.
5 months in mid-February. So, January, December... November, October, I've lost count already. Damn. We're almost half a year we've been doing this show. Still nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. About that. I'm going to stop. No. However, actually something that I may as well float now that I'm on the train of thought. I want to bring back the roleplay stuff. Mosaic said about sharing a mug. I really enjoyed all that. I want to bring it back, and I want to do it better this time, and not give up because I don't want to be asked to draw things. So we need a format for that, which doesn't involve drawing stuff. But I mean, you enjoyed that session, right? Your first ever roleplay experience.
It's the kind of thing that I enjoy while I'm doing it, and that I enjoy the product of, and that I don't want to do. You know,
why?
I don't want to do it. It's one of those things where it's like, before you go to do it, I don't want to do it. I feel more pressure, knowing that there's going to be like a role-playing thing, and I'm going to have to like come up with, you know, I'm going to have to be smart and witty and stuff in role-playing than I do doing a live show on Twitch before, you know. I feel more pressure just knowing that, okay, we're going to be using our imaginations and maybe come up with some voices, characters, and things like that, and I just feel like You know, I actually, when I go to roleplay too, I feel the pressure of, you know, the DM has potentially put up so much effort and time into coming up with something, and then I feel like I'm torn. You know, I've got this like, there's part of me that's like, okay, I don't want to fuck up what he's done by coming up with some shit that takes us wildly off pace, and then at the same time, I feel like I really need to come up with some shit that takes us wildly off pace. Otherwise, it's not interesting. I mean, if everything happens as he planned it, that's just...
No, but I mean, so that's you don't need to worry about that because with me, I've had enough experience that any wild shit that takes us off base is actually kind of what I'm hoping for. I like that, and also I wouldn't want it to be done live. I'm saying that I'd like to maybe because our we haven't released any of these yet, but on the other week that we're not doing this live show, we're doing a podcast, and so far I feel like we've always had really fun discussions that I've enjoyed whilst we've had them, but they've been without point and purpose, kind of by design, but design in the way that we just couldn't think of a point or purpose, and so you know, we just said that that's what we were intending to
Theming.
do. So I'm thinking that maybe we should record something kind of like Daryl, but for a different format where I don't have to put so much time in post production. But I don't know what that would be or how it would turn out. But I really want to do it, so I hope it happens at some point.
So, hard shift.
Hmm.
Anything interesting going on this past 2 weeks between shows?
It's great that we now have 2 weeks between shows because if you have one boring week, hey, you got another chance. Let's think. I mean, the first thing that jumps to mind is actually not past 2 weeks. It's tomorrow. I am going back to Sheffield like usual, except I'm going to give a talk in front of quite a few people, which is a little bit scary.
Oh, really?
And it's a talk. It's I've only got 5 minutes. I'm going up during an award ceremony and talking about the summer research project that I did a year and a half ago. So actually, about the time that we started planning Harv and Porn, funnily enough. But that's the whole healthcare smartphone app sensor thing. The first project I did of that. I won Student Researcher of the Year for it in my university's summer research program. And so now they've got me to come back and to say,
Student
aha,
Researcher of the Year!
thank you very
Harvey,
much.
coming to
Thank
you
you.
live from
Thank you. Thank you. Please.
Sunday,
Oh, you shouldn't
Sunday,
have.
Sunday.
Hey, thank you for coming out, you. Hey. Hey, Jeff. Yeah.
Everybody
So,
shut up.
they've given me 5 minutes, and I've been briefed that I should talk about why I did the research project in the first place, what I learned from doing it, and how it impacted my view of doing research. 5 minutes is that's about enough time to briefly say, I learned some stuff. I did it because reasons, and it impacted my view of research. Thanks for listening. So I'm really having the presentation I've prepared really feels rushed, and I really hate that because normally the way I like to do these kind of talks, which I've done a couple of, not many, but when I public speak, I tend to get quite nervous beforehand. But then when I get into it, I really get into it. I like to be very conversational, and if I go on tangents, that's fine. I don't have time to go on tangents here, so it's
Yeah, I don't
just
know. That's the
frustrating.
kind of
Yeah.
situation. If somebody gives you 5 minutes, I almost think that they intend for you to take at least 7. So maybe
Yeah,
write a
no,
little bit
I'm kind
more.
of banking on that a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's my kind of imminent time. Otherwise, just past 2 weeks have just been work, and it's been pretty smooth sailing. We're working on this app that we're transitioning, excuse me, in house. Excuse me again, and sorry for that, but disgusting. It's such a goddamn mess of an app, but being forced to make it into something which is not a goddamn mess of an app has been a roller coaster of emotion. It's been terrible. It's been great. It's been hell. It's not quite been heaven, but it's at least been fun sometimes and rewarding. But
Well, I've been
God,
having a
man.
similar experience this week because I've been coding Split RP, the auto splitter thing in
Yeah.
Python, and I went insane. I went insane. I spent the better part of an entire day coding a timer. End of sentence.
You should have just a timer.
Yeah. Coding a timer class, which like just kind of does everything that I want it to do. And that kind of supports it's a ridiculous implementation. I just went insane. You know, you have those days where you just go insane coding, and I'm like, I decided what I wanted to do was have Bavalia subscribe for their 4th month in a row on a streak.
Welcome
So
back, Bavalia. Thank you for subscribing.
it's a lot of code to make Bavalia do that. Yes, thank you very much. But yeah,
I mean, hey, you say that you spent the better part of a day coding a timer, but your entire thing is basically a timer and some fancy image recognition, right?
yeah, kind of. I mean,
So it makes
honestly,
sense that you would spend a lot of time on that, surely, of
yeah,
anything in your
I want
code.
it to be very accurate. I want to have a lot of flexibility in it and stuff like that. And it helps support the newest feature of Split RP, which is something else that I managed to get in there, which is now that my code is built that I can just feed it in an MP4, a video file,
Mm.
and it will do the analysis and the run, without having to watch it frame by frame on your, playback kind of thing. It just analyzes it from the frames that are in the video file. But the thing that I really feel that I had one of those crazy programmer days
Ah.
with is that I ended up. So, is there a way to get in without just assuming people know shit? So you've got an array or a list structure, and there's methods of pushing and popping. The idea is you've got a list of a whole bunch of data that's contained in one thing, and then if you want to pop, if you want to shove one piece of that data off of the left side of it, so the one that's in the first position, get rid of that and just leave me, give me that out, but leave me with just, what's left after the first one. That is a theoretically, I mean, it's not theoretically, it's an actually, but it's an unmeaningfully long process in terms of CPU usage to pop something off of the front of a list. In theory, the CPU and the memory usage and everything, I think Python takes the entire list and copies it from where it is over by 1, so each value gets shifted over 1, and then it takes off the one at the end. It's always been a thing in coding. How do you, do that? And I totally could have just let that be. Just use pop thing for this list that I wanted. Wouldn't have been a big deal. It's, like I say, it's almost just theoretically slow at the rates that, modern computers operate. Doesn't really matter. Instead, I spent the
Oh,
greater
man.
portion of the day writing myself, at least part of this was writing like a function where it declares how much memory space it's going to use. The array is of a certain size, which is not Python. It's not it's not Pythonic to do it that way. And then when you write these, you want to just calculate the information. You want to average the information that's in a certain area. Okay, well then I need a pointer that's going to address just that space to just that space, but I'm going to leave it all in place. And then when we've counted up to the maximum size, then we'll go back to the front. And then if I never get rid of any value. And so theoretically, it's faster. And also theoretically, I probably just could have used something that's called a deque or a DQ object, which is an array that kind of already does this kind of shit. But no, I got deep into it. I already knew about deques. I just wanted it, so just a whole day crazy coding.
I mean, so from my point of view, at least you probably learned something. And even if that lesson that you learned was just use
Don't
the
waste your
solutions
time.
people have already designed for these problems.
But I've already
But hey, at
learned
least you
that
learned something.
before, Harvey. That's why it was a crazy day. It was just you got into a coding hole, and I was just like, it would be better if I did it that way. And then
I
at
mean,
the end
hey,
of the
sometimes
day,
it feels really good to just, crack out something so encapsulated. Like, I'm going to write a method that does this. That's like a really fun problem solving process, at least.
yeah. Yeah, and
hopefully.
that kept me in there. But, at the end of the day, too, I'm also looking and saying, do I really even need that whole, like, stored list of values? I could have done it a lot simpler, but am I just wasting memory space? It's just,
Uh,
it was a day. It wasn't the whole day, but it was a lot of work went into this little timer. That said, now that the timer's written, I've got timers all over my code tracking how long it takes me to do this thing and that thing, and storing the data and being accessible, and I can average, how long it took to do it last second or this second, and so it's very helpful.
hmm.
It feels stupid that I put all that time into it. So the next day I did the, important work, which was come up with a method that does all of my analysis by MP4.
That's
That's
really
been
cool
my
stuff. I've never had the opportunity to. Well, I say I've never had the opportunity. I've never ended up writing code to kind of take frames from a video file and do stuff on them. I've been like very close lots of times because there's always, for instance, with like editing, there's always something I want to do in Vegas that I'm like, I know how to write the code that would do this. Why can I not find anything online that just does it for me? Like EQ generation, audio spectrum visualization
Oh
for
yeah, 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 yeah.
sound. Like
Yep.
I know how to. I could just. It's such a simple. Just call a Fourier transform and maybe round it to some nice integers and plot it and just fucking. It'd be so easy to write something which turns sound into video for that purpose. But all of the plugins are either difficult to find or they just don't fucking exist or they're behind a paywall. And it's such a simple thing to write, and I've been this close to like getting into how do I write a Vegas plugin, but I'm just not bothered.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I found it was really easy to integrate the MP4 thing in Python. Because using OpenCV, very long in the tooth
Mhm.
kind of a library, it already supports MP4, bring it in, use the methods for getting the frame out. Now you got to list all the frames, you just process the frames as though you were looking at them. So it was
Mm.
not complicated. It came together, and I've actually tested it now on 1080p footage at 60 frames per second and 720p footage at 30 frames per second, and it gave perfect results. I dragged them into the editing bay and cut them down to make sure that it was being perfect on everything, and it was perfect on every friggin' thing. It works brilliantly. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, that's my very, how I feel
Wait, chuck
about
up that
problems.
chuck up that sound, the applause. I haven't got a
Oh,
soundboard. You have it. No, no, press
and
the
then
fucking.
it takes a
Yeah,
minute,
well
and then
done. Come on. Hey, there we go.
I
That was
did it!
good.
I
You
did
did
it!
it.
It was me! It was
One of
me!
the.
I'd like to thank. Oh shit!
Too late. They got bored. One of the things we have at work is that we're doing some audio analysis, and currently we're using a certain plugin, but that plugin isn't behaving very well on Android. It's working fine on iOS, but it's not behaving well on Android. The reason it's not behaving well is because uh, the library is having to run from native C code, and the developer who wrote the entire app has figured that for whatever reason, running something in this native C code on Android is causing a memory leak somewhere, and he hasn't figured out how to fix it. He doesn't know exactly why it's happening, but it's happening. He says, and so we're trying to replace this plugin because it's doing a really simple calculation, but it's just not one that we really understood until recently. Because it's a mathematical plugin. It just fucking it does what it does. Just I could go into the literature and find out exactly what it's doing and rewrite it in JavaScript, but just find something that does it already, right? Rather than spending a day writing a timer for no reason, you know.
Yeah.
So uh unfortunately, because the app is so fucking all over the place, just trying to implement a plugin that already does it is actually a day's worth of work in its own right. Actually, longer than a day's worth of work because I spent a day trying to implement this alternative plugin and I couldn't get it working how it was supposed to work. Uh, and so now I've gone back to the kind of researcher who told us what on earth this thing is actually doing, and he's explained what it's supposed to do, and he's given me some example Python code. And he says, "Oh, it's not complicated. Just write it in JavaScript. If you need it in JavaScript, just fucking write it. It's not that complicated." but we have 5 weeks to get this app ready for release, and it works on iOS. And to be honest, with such a small company, we only have 2 developers, soon to be 1 when I leave. That actually only launching on iOS now is probably a smart decision. So why would I spend another 1 day, maybe 2 days to implement something, and then all the extra testing and verification that comes along with that, when we can just implement on iOS now and just it works now. Let's not fuck with it until we have more time, you know. So that's what we've been kind of debating a little bit over recently.
Defrag, if everyone were to become less sane, would that shift the borders of sanity, or would the world simply be insane? I don't know, you're driving me insane with these questions, though, dude.
This comes back to the role-playing stuff. You may know that I run sessions for my friends at uni occasionally. I'm currently trying to think of a plot for a new one, and I pitched this to you last week, which is that the players get told at the very start of the session, today is Tuesday, and you are insane. And so the whole premise is that they are insane patients in a psychiatric asylum. And because they know for sure that they are insane, because I tell them so, anything that happens to them, I want to coax them into trying to interpret. Because I had this great moment in the Tropland World Setback series that I did last time, where I gave them a poem about taking the true climb up of this massive tower and standing on the edge and taking the true fall. And it was all a big metaphor for the simulation they were in. And they found this note, and the players all started reading way too deep into it until they kind of convinced themselves, true climb, true fall. He didn't have the bravery to jump. We should jump off the tower. Maybe that would fulfill a prophecy. And, you know, we probably won't die because, you know, we'll fulfill a prophecy and something will happen. It's like, dude, you jump, you're dead. Like, don't do that. So I really want to lean into that because in that moment I saw that they had a tendency to read too deeply into things. So I tell them they're insane, and then I send a bunch of crazy shit at them, and they all read into it and think, okay, well, we're insane, so clearly this is a group hallucination. And actually it's not what we're being told that we need to think about. We need to think about what it represents. And so when he says there's a crocodile lying on the bed playing snooker, what he means is that, but in reality, literally everything I tell them is going to be what's happening. And they're not the insane ones. It's going to be the doctors in the insane asylum who are actually the insane ones, there's been a swap around, and it's just
so the
genuinely crazy shit is happening.
Crocodiles playing snooker on the beds because they're fucking mad. And, we've got control. Exactly. Let's order some crocodiles.
But it wouldn't seem that way because the doctors will think it's completely normal because they're fucking insane, you know. So I'm looking forward to that, and I really hope that none of my friends watch this episode of the podcast. Talk show. The show. Yeah.
Well then.
Well then. Well, as we just naturally petered out for a second there. We were having a discussion before we came onto the show, which I killed prematurely because it was such a good discussion that I just kind of said, "Yeah, you grab those nipples, you sexy thing." 5, 10, 8 seconds ago, because I killed it prematurely because it was such a good discussion that I wanted it to be on the show. And then since then, we've completely changed topic, and now it's going to feel really artificial to try and force us back onto it. I mean, do you want to talk about it? Shall we? Yeah. We've named the talk show it, so.
Yeah. What are we? Death of an entrepreneur. Death of an entrepreneur. Attention must be paid.
Death of an entrepreneur. Death of an entrepreneur. Death of an entrepreneur. Death of an entrepreneur.
We can't do that, though, because there will always be a little bit of desync.
No, it's okay. Let's go for it. Death of an entrepreneur.
Death of an entrepreneur. Death of an entrepreneur. Death of an entrepreneur. Then we just light
Okay.
this place on fire and everything. On my side, it'll be fine. To them, it'll be fine. For you, I was out of sync the whole time, right?
You were,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, that's a good point. Actually, it should be on sync. Oh, great! I look forward to someone clip that so I can see. Defrag, you do it.
But yeah, so Harv and I got talking about Jesus, how do we end up on that? I'm writing a script, and then the other thing we ended up talking about the difficulty of being well, inventor, entrepreneur, that kind of a thing in what has become the modern corporate economy, global economy. It's a basic premise of which being that, entrepreneurs, well, what the hell, first off, how do you spell entrepreneur? I always have trouble with this one. Entrepreneur, it's got to be friggin' French.
Entrepreneur.
A person who organizes and operates a business or businesses taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. Well, that is a very specific definition there. But okay. Taking on greater than normal financial risks.
I like how it's defined in terms of the amount of risk you take on. As though if you find a really big gap in the market and you are really confident that it's going to work, you're not an entrepreneur. Regardless of what you're actually doing, it's all like relative to the market. That's a very capitalist way of thinking, funnily enough, I suppose.
Greater than normal financial risk. Yeah, if you've got a really good idea, you know it's going to work, you're not an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything useful. Yeah. God, you should go find something that probably is going to fail.
You're an investor in an emerging market. Yeah, find something that's going to fail, and then you can be a proper
then you'd be a real entrepreneur.
Can't sit at the entrepreneur's table until you're damn near bankrupt over a stupid idea.
Come play with the big boys. What we were talking about with the entrepreneur, I'd like to preface with the assertion, the central axiom that I haven't had enough life experience to determine whether it's true or not yet, but basically that capitalism is predicated on the belief that competition between companies will always bring about the optimal solution. Competition will drive down costs, increase innovation, it will, so on and so forth. And, if you don't like one thing, then you go to the alternative. And that way, the competition always goes towards what the people want. And I think would you agree, pretty much predicated on that assumption?
Yeah, and
free market kind of stuff.
Yeah, and competition also works on the employer-employee side of things, theoretically, in that, if you have a task for which you need employees that no one wants to do, then the amount that you remunerate them, their pay, must necessarily increase. So competition in general just sort of moderates the free markets and should be left to its own goddamn devices before you goddamn socialists and commies come in and fuck everything up with your idealist bullshit utopias.
Dramacian, welcome to the show, points out until all the companies are owned by, I don't know what that is, KND Mats Corp? Megacorp. Yes, a mega corporation. That's exactly the point that we came to. So I was pointing out, there's so many examples, but in my industry of healthcare, there's a load of great innovation in snoring and sleep apnea treatments. Like, for instance, there's a great device that came out, which was I think it was a airway resistance passive thing where you you put it in your nostrils, and so when you breathe out, it actually resists you breathing out, which helps keep your airways inflated, and so it prevents that collapse, which causes sleep apnea. It was something like that, and it was a really cool, really innovative product that was clearly going to work very well and would bring down the costs of the big clunky devices that are used by most people in a kind of one size fits all. God damn it, have a CPAP machine, you fucker. The kind of market that healthcare is in right now with that. And ResMed, which is a massive American healthcare company who, I don't know what their share of the market is, but it's probably considerable, bought it and then stopped the project. Because why would they want to compete with themselves? So that's where it breaks down when you allow companies to buy other companies that are smaller than them and crush them.
In the medical field, I was actually thinking about that recently. I mean, it's not a new idea to me or anyone, but I mean that's an example of you're talking about a product that would have helped with people's general health and things like that. But when it comes to pharmaceuticals, same problem, just way worse. Because
Hmm.
hypothetically, we could be living in a world right now where there are a number of cures to a number of things that people suffer from that just happen to be more profitable to treat than to cure, which is almost always going to be the situation. If you have a cure for something and you are in the business of providing medication, if you're in the pharmaceutical industry, you're already helping people treat a condition, make it less bad. Well, now I've got a permanent income that always flows based on people having this illness and needing things to make it, you know, something that doesn't ruin their lives. But as soon as I start curing something, well, I'm just throwing away all of my customer base. I have no incentive to do that. So like,
How ironic must it be the man who invented the rape whistle? Because he clearly invented it, or she, I don't know. They clearly invented it with good intentions. Stop rape whistles. But now that you've made the rape whistle and you're selling it as a product, you no longer want the rate of rape to decline because if the rape rate declines,
oh
then
god.
so does your rate of sales.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but
That was
same
I got that
logic.
from Bo Burnham, great comedian. That was
Oh,
in one of
okay.
his songs, I think. Yeah.
Okay. It
Yeah.
is the same concept, though. And I mean, it seems to me likely at this point in especially like the medical, economy that we exist in, where it's an industry as opposed to, medicine. Um, it seems likely that Pfizer and like the big pharmaceutical companies probably do have cures on their shelves to things that they make a lot of money treating, and they're not going to throw away hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue when they can just cure people of diseases that are either killing them or just making their lives horrible. Why would we do that? No. The free market left to its own devices, it solves all problems.
Cool. Can I put up an example, which is a little bit of a tangent, but I only learned about it recently. Ford, General Motors, when they created the Pinto car, I learned about this from a podcast recently. The
The
Ford
Pinto.
Pinto,
Yes.
yes, incredibly lightweight, incredibly low cost, under $2,000, and they made it really lightweight by getting rid of some pretty heavy stuff. And what's quite heavy in a car? The bumper, the rear bumper. They basically just got rid of it. And it turns out what they knew was that by getting rid of the rear bumper, they basically made an exploding death trap, which, if you rear ended someone in a Ford Pinto, you would likely rupture the gas tank and not only rupture the gas tank and spill fuel everywhere, but also crumple the door metal such that the doors wouldn't open anymore. So not only would the car explode spontaneously at the slightest spark of anything, but the people would be trapped inside. And there was a memo that was sent around the upper middle management of Ford when this was clearly, when an engineer or somebody clearly pointed this out. And it was a calculation. How much would it cost to fix this problem with the doors and with the fuel tank? Well, stick a sheet of plastic in there, $11 per car to change that design and to implement that. $11 per car. Okay. And as the design currently stands, how many people are going to die horrible, explosive, fiery deaths as a result? Well, this many. And how many people can be injured? Well, maybe this many. Okay. And how much will we lose in lawsuits? So if we times $11 by the number of cars we want to sell, which was something ridiculous like 11 million cars, you know, uh, and we times the amount we'll lose on each lawsuit by the number of lawsuits we'll probably get if we don't fix it, guess which one works out cheaper?
Well, I do recall the Pinto being an explosive death trap,
Yeah.
historically
Oh,
speaking.
so history told gave the answer then.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, they just
Yes, it was
knew.
cheaper
They
to
just
accept the
knew.
lawsuits,
Mm.
they thought. But they knew about it. They knew people would die. They knew, you know,
Which reminds me
and
of the lead industry in America. Because like in 1906 or something, the science came back on lead, saying, "Oh, this is toxic. We shouldn't have this around us." And and all of Europe and just places where people gave a shit, basically said, okay, we're going to not have lead in the gas. Well, 1906 or something like that. This lead, we're going to not make our pipes out of it anymore. Shit like that. And meanwhile, the lead industry in America just upped its fucking ad campaigns. And there's so many like 1950s movies or earlier where they had those little like between films and pre-film things where it's just an advertisement but it's like a 7-minute thing and it's, oh, lead, noble lead, it will save us all from the and so yeah, the lead industry having the science, knowing it but still wanting to sell lots of lead, just kept pounding away while the rest of the world was like, that's toxic. And then over here, we were like, they didn't say that it was toxic. There's no global warming. What are you talking about? And yeah, we put it in all of our paint and put it in our gasoline and just, hey, here's some toys for you, little Sally. Here's some paint with some lead in it. Have fun with that. Put it in your mouth. And we only actually started lead abatement in the 70s. So basically, the lead industry managed to successfully, intentionally poison everybody in America for the better part of 70 years on its
no.
marketing
Hang on.
campaign.
Okay, hang on. Out of context, you make it sound like these people are basically evil. I mean, you make it sound like there's no defense for that. But just hang on. Let me point out some vital context. Do you know how much money they made from that? Just think about all the money they made from that. Surely it was worth it. I mean,
And you
what's the
know what?
value of a human life?
Now that you're saying
You know.
that, I will bet with that money that they employed people. And
Yes,
that
and
is
they're a vital cornerstone of the economy. Surely, you
And
know.
that is that is the pillar of every capitalist's argument. I employed thousands of people. Donald Trump employed thousands of people, which he never did. He was always just a fucking name and a middleman contractor. Actual companies with actual employees employed them, but it's always like a thing. But I employed people on what? Well, basically, like 20-year-olds in college who needed some extra income. I got them dealing blackjack at some tables and some casinos I made. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution to the race.
So clearly, bringing this back around then, clearly capitalism has a couple of flaws, or at least humans have flaws, which capitalism is the breeding ground for, let's say. But entrepreneurship then, so this whole thing about, well, you have a really bright idea and you go and you make that bright idea and then it turns out that it works. And then comes along Big Co and they buy your idea. You get a lot of money, so you're very happy. And then they shut down your idea because why would they compete with themselves? So that kind of cycle perpetuates itself continually. And I don't know that it's the death of the entrepreneur as much as it's the
yeah, because you can
silencing of.
still invest too much money into bad ideas, so you're not dead.
Hmm. Yes, of
As we
course.
determined was the definition of entrepreneurship earlier. Thank you, Google.
Yes, thank you, Google. That's a good definition. I hope that the Oxford English Dictionary agrees with the relative terming of that. That's an interesting thought, actually. How many things are relatively termed to the risk that you take on? But anyway, yes. So then, what is the kind of solution to this problem of good ideas being bought up by big bad co? I suppose big pharma. hiking up the drug prices.
Well,
Because
and
this points out the whole problem of capitalism. So supposedly competition is good, but what happens when the few big monopolies don't need to compete for everyone to get rich? They are fine and they can agree to have a higher price because anyone who undercuts that higher price just gets bought, and so it's not,
hmm.
you know.
And beyond that, because that's like the best circumstance is that you come up with, you invent a new mousetrap and you prove that it works and you prove that there's a market for it, and then you get bought out and then they shut it down. Sometimes they'll buy it out and they'll just, make your product now and it's out there being made and you got one time paid for it. Cool. Sometimes they'll buy it out just to destroy it. Buying it out is the simplest and most straightforward method to go by, but that's not always how it rolls out. Very often, instead, they'll just fucking crush you. If you're not willing to sell your idea, if they come to you and they're like, we'll give you, $1,000,000 or, $250,000 and we're going to take this concept from you. And you say no, well, then they'll just sick their lawyers on you. And you can put someone completely out of business just by holding them down in, law. If you want to steal an idea that somebody else has already made, and you're one of these big corporations, you got so many lawyers on staff, you can just go into manufacturing, even if they already hold a patent and shit. You can just go into manufacturing on it, dominate the market space. They'll never get a chance to get in there because you're a big company. You could roll it out, you get it, and all that kind of stuff. You can be bulldozed and keep your thing. And then the other thing is, if you are an entrepreneur and you're starting up from small, then the amount of money that it takes to litigate against a big corporation who's just taking your idea, straight stole it, and then went off into production on it, you basically you have to get investors, not in your company, but in your lawsuit, so that 7 to 12 years down the road when it resolves and you get a payout, and then it's a 50-50 coin flip on whether or not you get the payout. Like, you get investors just to support your lawsuit so that maybe one day you can get paid for your idea that you wanted to be the one to bring to market. They have complete unilateral authority. If they don't buy you out, like, willingly, they can either, like, sink you before you even get started by just saying, well, we hold a patent on this and that's similar to that, and now we're going to sue you, and if you can't come up with millions of dollars to defend yourself, good luck.
Then
or
we
they
win,
can just
right?
take what you're already doing and do it, anyway. Just steal it outright and be like, come sue us. And good luck with coming up with the, hundreds of millions of dollars it will take to stay in the courtrooms for the next 7 to 12 years that we can stretch this thing out. So there's a lot of ways you can lose your business, basically. And the best version that still exists in sort of the corporatist global economy that we have right now, and that a lot, I think, of business, students of business, people graduating with degrees in business, I think they're teaching this now, that really what your goal should be in any business is to grow to a size that's small enough to not piss off a big corporation, but also to prove your concept and then sell out. Like, you have to start from day one. The idea of the entrepreneur is you got an idea, and you're going to make it happen, and you're going to throw apparently all of your money, good after bad, at the idea regardless. But you're going to make something. You're going to raise this company up from nothing. And now I think the realistic dream of an entrepreneur is to make something incredibly small and local and prove that the concept works and prove that there's a market for it, and then get them to buy you out, even if they're just going to shelve the product so they don't have to compete with it. It's like the best goal that you have.
That is. And to be honest, despite the kind of implications in the broad economy of what that does in these situations that we've highlighted, I still fucking want that. And thank you, Mosaic Task Force, for 500 bits bribe to play the pyramid scheme in the stream break.
I saw that
pyramid
earlier.
scheme skit.
Yeah,
I saw Defrag wondering whether the skit Mosaic was talking about was the one from Last Week Tonight. I actually don't know specifically which Last Week Tonight skit that was. I don't watch Last Week Tonight. But yeah, I mean, I'd be up for you playing that again if you have time to find the file and put it on.
You know what? I probably don't have it locally. I'm so tight on hard drive space, and I know that it's out so many different places.
Potentially whack it up on YouTube.
Yeah, I could put it on the big screen here and just let it play when we go to break. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
But as
problem.
I was saying, as
I
I
accept bribes. Thank you, Mosaic.
uh, thank you, Mosaic, for those. Yes, all that bribe money. As I was saying, as the kind of person who might be an entrepreneur type thing, God, yes, I would want that because for me, and this is something that Linus Torvalds, who invented Linux and later Git in order to manage Linux, has said in a few of his talks. If you're an ideas kind of guy and you really enjoy making stuff, you want to be able to come up with an idea, make it, prove that it works, have it go into the world, and be managed by some business that makes it a thing, and hopefully you make some money off of it, and then you can do the next idea. Why would you want to stick around and kind of see it through and make sure and ship it to market, and then you've got to kind of maintain it and all that stuff? If you really like making new innovative stuff, you want to always be making new innovative stuff. And so not only is there incentive from the big corporate side to crush these businesses and take them over, but there's no real, I mean, for me on the more inventory side, I know there's kind of the business school people who will be out there to actually run the business. But for me on the inventor side, I don't want to run a fucking business. I want to just have ideas and make it and then sell it and make some money to fund the next idea? So there's both sides of it are are leading down this monopolizing path, which I
Yeah.
guess the only solution to is regulation, and has to be kind of centralized government regulation. Because I
Yeah.
don't think there's a kind of grassroots distributed solution to this. Because if you allow the distributed, just you guys compete, that's what this leads to.
Yeah,
So it
actually,
has
I
to be
was thinking
centralized.
about recently how, yeah, capitalism always leads to monopoly. Like as a mathematical principle almost, or as just like a research project. I mean, if you just so think about it in terms of like, let's say we've got a brand new clean market just emerges. Boom. Nobody's in the marketplace, and then we can just plant as seeds for our little experiment 100 startups, all of the same size that are all going to compete for the same marketplace. The perfect platform upon which for capitalism to prove how well it
To
works.
thrive. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So you start out with those 100 same size competitors, all in a brand new market. Nobody has an advantage over anyone else. Everybody starts on the same footing. Sooner or later, just by the principles of random, like just reality, random luck, random chance, somebody's going to get the slightest up and over on the next person. And anyone who gets the slightest up and over on the next person, who has a slightly larger market share, that kind of a thing, ultimately, their goal, since you're competing, is to drive the other people out of business, to consume their market, to get their market. So if one of them can get big enough, and they will, ultimately, because that's the whole goal of competition in the capitalist marketplace, is to get more of the marketplace for yourself. As soon as one gets more marketplace, gets enough place to be able to,
I mean,
what's going to
especially
happen
because if
is
you
you get one big
want
one, or you
to,
get one guy that eats another one, he becomes the big guy. Now it might not be them that win, but now you're definitely going to see within that 98, the 99 who remain total, others are going to go, well, the only way that we're going to be able to survive is if we merge together. So it's like the first one who overtakes one of them proves that, sets the marketplace up to where the other 99 or the other 98 that remain now have to form into 40. The two have to become one. Overnight, you become 40 some, and then they're competing. And then if one of them gets, then everybody else has to like merge again. And that's like if they're doing the smartest thing. Some of them will just be picked off because they're idiots. They're entrepreneurs. They throw good money after bad on stupid ideas. That's what entrepreneurship is, Google. Thank you, Alphabet Company.
and then you have the presumably non-entrepreneurs, so let's call them inventors, like I would be, who don't care. We want to make stuff, and so we're happy to throw away our business and start a new one and keep on feeding the monopolizing
Hmm.
cows. Yeah.
And yeah, once you've got monopoly, then there's your competition gone. Like it's good for the marketplace so long as people are competing, but it is necessary. It is the whole goal of players in a capitalist marketplace, of the free market, is to take more of the market for yourself, and that necessarily will always result in monopoly. At the end of the day, you always end up with monopoly if there is no regulation. And yeah, so that's the thing is like to every person out there who, and there's so fucking many of them that it just blows my mind, who, doesn't want Uncle Sam and big government and Jesus, let the free market do what the free market does. If you do, I'm pretty sure capitalism itself, if you could say that capitalism is and it is, like a philosophy or a theory that is taught in a room, if it were invented as opposed to having just emerged, which we certainly describe it as though it was an invention, capitalism acknowledges in every classroom that teaches capitalism and teaches, economies and stuff, talks about monopoly and how it ceases to function, like the marketplace doesn't work. So you have to have, as you said earlier, oversight. You have to have regulation. And I guess the idea to these people who are, still like, oh, big government, I don't want a government in there telling me what to do, let the free market. Apparently they think that the free market will result in like a self-governing industry.
Right. You would hope that it just like has this equilibrium state where, sure, maybe you've got the bigger companies, but there's a distribution and it kind of is like this and it, it's stable, but it doesn't seem to do that. It just seems to tend ever more towards bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you end up with Alphabet and Amazon and
yeah, and the only reason that we have like
Facebook, I suppose.
That we still have some competitors in some of these industries that have been so monopolized. For example, in America, our telecommunications is basically AT&T and Comcast, and Verizon is in there. But when it comes to like home, internet and home entertainment or home television, that kind of thing, it's AT&T and it's Comcast. And the only reason that it's not just Comcast, because I am completely of the opinion that AT&T couldn't eat Comcast, but Comcast could totally eat AT&T. The only reason that Comcast doesn't eat AT&T is because of regulation. Like they're sitting there choosing not to do what they want to do because they know if they did what they wanted to do, then they'd have such an obvious monopoly that even the American people and even the American government could not just sit and let that be, at least not for too long. I think the only reason why we still have oligopoly, where we've got like 2 or 3 big competitors in fields, is basically because we have a very weak and ineffective oversight of these things from a government perspective, that has allowed it to come just down to 2 or 3 and say, well, that's enough competition in this giant marketplace. We can leave it there. But if they actually pushed to the total monopoly, that's when the government has historically stepped in and said, okay, wait a second, break it up here, and literally break it up here. The last thing that I remember being done in America around this was like Ma Bell, was AT&T and stuff like that. It was, phone communication and phone lines in particular, I believe. And the American government stepped in and said, what you're going to have to do now is sell to anyone who wants it your service so that they can resell it, and you're going to have to sell it to them at cost. And in case you think that that's like an elegant solution, that doesn't actually work at all. It doesn't work at all. You can't just force the people who own all of the infrastructure to sell something at cost and expect that that's going to emerge, that's going to produce actual competition, because that assumes that they will actually play by your fucking rules. Which, why would they have to? They've got all the power and the money and the infrastructure and stuff. But yeah, the government does tend to step in, at least American government has stepped in the past, when you get a full monopoly. And that's the only reason I think that we have oligopolies and not pure monopolies today. In the places where we don't, because we do have some real monopolies, and I will list them after we come back.
Oh, yes. Yes, you said that you had a great big list that you found. I'm looking forward to hearing that after the break. I guess it's about that kind of time. So, ladies and gents, if you're enjoying so far, don't go anywhere except to patreon.com/harvandporn, where you can become a patron of the show. We have desperately few patrons, and we need money to eat and drink and live.
And so do coke between the shows.
Yeah. Oh, hang on just a second. I did it.
All right, well,
there we go. Yes.
Harv's into the H, but I'm more of just a kind of a guy. But whatever. Give us your money is the point. I think we all know.
Yes, please. If you're enjoying it, it helps us keep doing the show. Helps us justify our continued existence on this platform, and we like money, and we hope that you. So, thanks for watching. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 7 minutes. And are you gonna play that skit during these 7
I'm
minutes?
gonna
'Cause I think it's
try.
about it's about that long, actually. I think so. Perfect timing.
Yes,
Enjoy
it
the skit.
is. Money, money, money. It's a problem. Content creators in particular are faced with ever greater challenges in their need to monetize the videos that brighten all our lives. Brand deals, affiliate links, mid-roll ads, and in-content paid promotion have muddied the waters of your favorite personalities' weekly shows. But what's a viewer to do? How can we meaningfully support creators? And how do we scrape the thick wallpaper of insidious advertising off the genuine content we so enjoy? Until now, there hasn't been much of an answer to that question. But today, Harv and I are here to launch an all-new creator support program we call HP. Like health points?
Like hit points? Like Harv and Porn. That's right. Porn and I have carefully crafted a 27-tier program that allows you, dear video watcher, to support your favorite show and your favorite creators to help us keep paying the utility bills each month. It's virtually seamless and no effort whatsoever.
And we call it HP. Once you sign up at the HP website, totally free sign up, you'll be presented with your very own HP support board. To activate the board, simply enter the email addresses of 3 of your closest friends. Boom! Activation complete. Go take a nap. And rest easy knowing you've literally just saved the life of a content creator who otherwise would have died in a drainage ditch under a highway overpass. While you nap, your friends will receive an email inviting them to join you on the HP Awesome Boards. If they care at all about your friendship, and you should follow up with them to be sure they did click the link in the email as proof that they do care about you, then you'll be seeing your friends soon on the brand new HP Super Mega Boards you've all just unlocked. After, of course, your friends provide the email addresses of 3 of their closest friends as well.
Their closest friends that aren't you, you sexy thing.
And that's it! We take care of the rest. Content creators get paid, and you don't ever have to suffer through one of those invasive marketing pitches in the middle of the content that you love.
Wait. Unless you like making money too?
No, Harv. You don't think
that we should open up this incredible financial opportunity to viewers at home?
Oh, wow. Okay. In Tier 2, you take on the role of Gold Leaf Earner, and your HP profile will show it with gilded flair all across the HP Mega Cash boards. All you do is load $3 into your HP account to activate it. And don't worry, those $3 aren't going anywhere. That's your money and you can take it out whenever you like. Once you're a Gold Leaf Earner, anyone else on your HP Ultra Boss Epic board who signs up to Tier 2 as well earns you cash. And that's not just the friends you invited, but your friends' friends and your friends' friends' friends. And your friends' 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 friends too. We call it the HP Donor Pyramid.
The HP Donor Cone of Happiness. In fact, now that you're making money off of this, why not invite more people? Family, neighbours, old primary school teachers. How long has it been since you touched base with Mr. Robbins from 3rd grade PE? Too long! And he'll appreciate this wonderful financial opportunity that you've brought him.
But wait a second, Harv. The real money doesn't start rolling in until Tier 2. Should we let the people at home in on Platinum Emerald level earner bonus rewards too?
I think we'd be absolute cads if we didn't. In Tier 3, simply register the number of a burner phone and add Harv and Porn as a signatory to your primary bank account to unlock your new HP Ultra Blast Max 7 Green and Gold payday boards. Packages of white powder will soon begin arriving to the nearest alley adjacent to your home, and that's when... Now that you're part of the Black Diamond Mega Obelisk Silver Earner crew, entry into Tier 12 will require a sacrifice of your firstborn's blood.
It's just to seal the vows of Cthulhu and enter into Congress with the Dark Lord Mammon, so don't worry, it's just paperwork we've got to file.
And if you don't have any children yourself, that's not a problem. Simply go to your nearest candy store and pick up some treats for the local playground in your area around lunchtime.
At Tier 18, attendance of all corporate-sponsored orgies will be required. Oh, yes please.
Is requiem.
If you've completed Tier 23's rites successfully, you'll begin speaking in tongues as Harvey will show us now.
Eos sondestin met not niek. Don mognigrag wagbog vilak. Kalmanul nadar. Der manak. Der manik.
Just like that.
And that's it. Now that you're a Mega Platinum Gold Diamond Rhodium Palladium Mega earner, you can join us at our HP Penthouse block here in Clearwater, Florida.
How simple! And you can lavish yourself in all this luxury knowing that you helped internet content creators do what they love without having to inject all that insidious third-party marketing and self-promotion into their content.
From all of us here at the HP Connor Cashflow headquarters, thanks for watching. We can't wait to see you join us on the Uber Duper Super Mega Doobly Doo boards today. And, as we always say,
Sign up now with the promotion code MAMMONISKING to receive immediate upgrade to Black, Silver, Gold Leaf, Crystal, Topaz bonus rewards today. Some pentagram assembly required. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this segment from the Harv and Pawn Show, which you can catch on twitch.tv/Harv and Pawn every Wednesday.
It's a bit of a hard transition there. Welcome back.
You're on the Harv and Pawn Show. We hope you enjoyed watching it on the Harv and Pawn Show because you're here on the Harv and Pawn Show. That's the first time that I think God, that worked so well. And look how it just transitioned. We changed clothes so quickly. We're here and the show has resumed, and you're here and you're watching that. And I hope you subscribed on Patreon because we need it. Blue Man Bad, welcome to the show. How's it going? Dun Torah, boiled cats, man. All you people watching right now, so nice to have you here. Thank you for joining.
Germasian said capitalism is a virus that will destroy the host. Go choose your persuasion. What?
Is that supposed to be go, like either go compete in the free market or go fuck yourself, depending on your persuasion?
Okay, maybe. One or the other. I've come to, as a socialist capital S, I think capitalism has a lot of good things going on. I mean, I think that competition is basically okay. Capitalism has one good thing going on, and it's competition. To a certain extent, as well as shit. I had a thought. What's the other thought that I had, and then I dropped it. It took me all of 6 seconds to forget what I had just had in my head there.
Just look around on the floor. It's probably something. Oh, I see it. Is that your thought down there? Or is that just the box of used condoms from last week?
That's... Why do we keep those?
Houston! Why haven't you mopped up in here? Jesus Christ, man. Some of the stuff's been, here 5 months. My God.
You're going to have to pay me a lot more if you want me to mop up after your used condoms.
You bastard, Houston.
Damn it, free market
capitalism. We pay you
capitalism.
Sufficiently many unused condoms. Surely.
What the fuck is the second good feature of capitalism? The more important good feature than competition that may also be just sort of competition. Oh, well, it's it's still just competition, but it's the idea of, like, as a socialist, people, tend to be like, oh, you just want everything to be equal, all people should be equal. No, I actually see a very good need that is filled by the competition in the marketplace for jobs and things like that, that is filled by capitalism. There are jobs that we have on a societal level that not a lot of people want to do because they suck, or that not a lot of people can do because it's very technical. And if you weren't rewarding those people more in order to incentivize, those jobs being done, then a lot of those jobs could fall into the state of just not getting done, at least until, we already had such massive issues of infrastructure and things like that. It just wouldn't happen. What's fucked up in capitalism and in our modern capitalism is very much the way that has sort of shaken out. Because the jobs that are often the jobs that are most important to a functioning society and to even just a functioning small business or large business are often the least remunerated. You can make a lot of money, in marketing and advertising. You can make a decent living pushing numbers from one column in the spreadsheet to the other. What you can't make a lot of money doing, or what is very hard to make a lot of money doing, is being a janitor, which is an absolutely necessary, crucial part of, everything that everyone does, is that you have a clean space to work in, and that the people who work in that space have proven they don't want to handle.
Tick this box if this applies to you. Likes to sometimes use something that other people also use. For instance, anywhere you go in public, anywhere you go at work, anywhere you go that isn't literally just within the confines of your own house.
Yeah, and also tick this box. I don't like to get violently ill several times a month. Because if nobody's fucking cleaning up, then that's how it goes. But, like a janitor position, and I know this, I speak from experience. Because like janitorial
Wait,
positions...
did you do something other than be a Zen Buddhist monk?
And YouTuber and live streamer and computer repair technician, wandering disciple of Jesus. I did some janitoring once I left the Zen Center. It seemed like an easy transition. We were always cleaning things at the Zen Center. But so I did some janitoring work, and most often places don't want to see the janitorial staff during the day. It would also, in a lot of situations, just be kind of awkward having people pushing through the cleaning equipment while you're in a, busy workplace. And so those jobs tend to happen in the middle of the fucking night, middle of the bleeding morning. And so what you've got there is an industry that manages somehow to employ just hundreds of thousands of people just in one nation alone, presumably, maybe millions in janitorial roles in America, manages to employ all those people, and they tend to make less than $10 an hour, and they're giving up their entire lives to do the job. Because when you work third shift, everyone who is going out to have fun. Hey, Jim, we're going out to the bar, man. It's going to be a great night. The Red Wings just won. We're going to sub. Oh, you're going to work again. Oh, that's right. You work that shitty third shift job where you clean up after other people. How much do you make for that again? $10 an hour. Why am I your friend? Okay, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Well, look, porn, you make it sound terrible, but we have to have some sort of sinkhole for all of the scum and vermin of society to just get them out of the way. We don't want them up and about during the day. Occupy them at night and pay them little so that they can't not do that. Just get them... We don't want those people in society.
It is a whole industry that is predicated, and so many industries, basically our entire global economy is now predicated on desperation. If you did not have people living in desperation, then you could not produce products at the prices and at the efficiency that we do now, and you wouldn't get the services that you do at the price that you do as well.
I mean, we've spoken about universal basic income before on the show, I'm fairly sure. And I wonder how that would affect... Sorry, I know you were kind of transitioning there, but I wonder how that affects janitorial wage. So, for instance, if everyone has universal basic income, then you earn enough to live off of, without doing anything. And the idea is hopefully that allows you to do what you want to do rather than what you are desperate and the first opportunity you find that will possibly take you on because otherwise you're going to die. So does that then naturally result in janitors having to be paid more because those jobs need doing,
Yes,
and
it
so therefore
does.
companies have to incentivize it more.
Yes,
And
it
so-
does. It means that the most important and most crucial and shittiest jobs that we have, instead of relying on what is modern slave labor that couldn't come for the price that we get it unless you had people living in fucking desperation and just needing anything that they could get. Yes, that suddenly means the most important jobs that we have in society, you get remunerated for them at a reasonable wage. Germasian just put in chat, school custodians make $18 an hour. That's a pretty damn good salary for being, what is ostensibly a, you've got a couple of more responsibilities, but a glorified janitor in a school system. Why is it that it works that way? Well, it's a government overseen system. And so you are a government employee when you're, being a janitor in a school. And so you do get remunerated a decent amount, especially since you have to deal with all the little snotty fucking kids and you're there during the day and clean up fucking vomit and shit like that. That's a job that, you should be making some decent fucking living for. And $18 an hour, by my standard at least, is a pretty damn good wage for what is, I think the
it's more than I get paid now, I think.
Yeah. The reason why this is gotten away with in so many industries in America is because it manages to sell itself on the virtue of being unskilled labor. Anyone can do this job. You could learn it in a day, kind of a thing. And so it's like, oh, well, if anybody could do it, then there's no demand for it and stuff like that. The only reason that we have demand, or that we have like employee demand of the employer to be a janitor in a third shift making $10 an hour or less, is because of desperation, which is, the hallmark of fucking slavery. You've just got people trapped in a situation where they can't do any better for themselves. Which then also leads back to, as a necessary thing in capitalism, that, it's better if you've got a group of people somewhere who are less educated. People who are sort of shat upon, don't have opportunity in their lives, and then we can use them to make the products that we enjoy. Oh my god, are we still living in a feudal system? And just pretending like we're not? Is it just that we replaced kings and queens and viscounts and everything with boardroom people? With fucking CEOs and CFOs? Is that all that happened there?
Hey, I tell you what. That's a good skit idea, actually. I should write that down. Let's literally have a feudal system scenario, but it's just literally board members. My lord, the serfs are uprising. And they're all sitting around a business table with presentation on the agile software development on the background. So, well, can't you control your serfs, my good man?
Who's in charge of that
unionizing.
division?
Yeah.
Is that the CFO or is that the Viscount or the Duke of Wales? Who's in charge of that division?
Oh boy, I want to say that I also don't think I would, if I had to describe myself as something on the capitalist scale, it would probably be capitalist. I'm not exactly an anti-capitalist either. I think another good thing that capitalism does is governments, especially how it works here in the UK and how it works in the US, the people who are appointed to roles of responsibility for certain sectors of the nation aren't necessarily experienced or know anything about that particular sector of the nation. And so what we have in the UK is,
Ain't that the truth?
career politicians, which results in often very badly managed projects. And so I think what capitalism, we've gone through how it's exploitative, sure, but in being exploitative, it can often produce some very well-functioning systems that run on time. And so, for instance, our privatized train system isn't great. It's prohibitively expensive for a lot of people, but at least it fucking runs, unlike how it didn't run when it was publicly owned and ran by the government. So
Yeah, I tend to come back to that whenever I start thinking about like capitalism and economies is like fundamentally the as much as people are like, I don't want big government and the government sucks at doing everything and all that kind of thing, But the government is your representation in a field where you don't get representation otherwise, like where the public of a country gets to say, wait a second, that might be good for your fucking business, but not here. So you want that kind of a representation, but I do come back more and more to, fundamentally then the problem emerges, underneath any of my philosophical arguments, that the people don't really have control of their governments as they exist right now.
Yeah.
I have no illusion as to that. And the situation is made that much worse by the, corporatism that exists today. Or maybe it's actually founded on the corporatism that exists today and it's long existed. Because it's all about money and privilege and silver spoons and running in the right circles, but it comes back to money, and the corporations can buy the politicians or just, give them the funding for their elections and for their campaigns and whatnot, in this country at least. The vast amounts of sums that you put into a senator's pocket, someone running for Senate, if you're a corporation, that's how you control policy. Even the people who are running on platforms that are against you, you still give them millions, because they will, when it comes time to sign things off, have to make have to think about that and wonder if they're going to get those millions next time. So you can control all of it. So yeah, if the public of a nation, not just consumers versus corporations, as much as it is, nations, governments, just bodies of human beings, if we don't have someone with as much power and authority and influence as these people who have managed to consume all of the money and the power and the authority through capitalism to speak on our behalf, then we're fucked. And that's just where it's driving more and more with each day, because the corporations now own sections of the American government. The FCC is owned and operated by AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon. How does that work over there, though? You guys have you have better regulation over election cycles. How is it that without being able to have your election cycles doped with corporate money, at least massively, because there's a cap, how is it that you guys end up with shitty representatives?
Well, it's just
Is it the old George Carlin thing? Garbage in, garbage out. If you have bad people, you have bad representatives.
Yeah, I think it comes down to career politics at the end of the day. I think the kind of people who want to participate in the current political system want to do it, right? And why would you want the person in charge of education to want to be a politician? It's like you only get people in those positions who are doing it because that's the career that they've sought out. And maybe maybe you get the few good eggs who are doing it because they believe so strongly in their particular ideology, and for good or bad, and they're doing it because they think they can make a difference and make change and ensure that whatever. But a lot of the time, it's just because people like being politicians, and so that's how it ends up being
and maybe you
badly
get back
managed.
to the cult of personality issue in politics, that it's less about, actually being the best suited candidate and more about looking like people want you to look if you're going to be in that role.
Yeah.
And just playing the fucking high school game of, everybody's your buddy, if you can be in the clique of, everybody loves me. Why? Because I don't really stand for anything and don't have any policies that would piss anybody off, because, I'm not representing anyone individually, so. But hey, there's a baby, let me kiss it.
I'm running purely based on facts, but also based on feelings. Yeah.
I just don't think you can trust a good-looking representative. That's the thing. If they look good, Bernie Sanders, there's a man you can trust in politics. Looks like shit. He's gonna die any day now, by the way that he looks. Can't even be bothered to comb his fucking hair, teeth falling out while he talks. That is a representative I want in my Senate.
I don't know. You say that, but that description pretty well fits Boris Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
And
fuck did you guys end up with that shit?
Yeah, we did, yeah. I want to. I feel like we're somewhat running out of steam a little bit, and I don't want it to be forgotten about. So we
Yeah.
may have already shown one skit today, but it wasn't the skit that we made for today's show. We actually have a skit that I made for today's show, which is called "One Simple Trick to Fix Society." Very relevant topic.
Hey, I had the weirdest dream last night. I dreamt I was handing out malaria nets in Botswana.
I dreamt that I quit this job, went back to med school for a few years, and joined Doctors Without Borders. My, quitting your job, Gary. Hold on a little bit longer and you'll get a nice big redundancy payout. Wait, what? You're making me redundant? No, I'm kidding. I'm not making you redundant. Just everybody else.
What? Why, I've been a loyal employee at this company for over 20 years. You can't fire me, you piece
Well,
of
you see here, Gary, I'm afraid I had a dream last night in which I sold the entire company to Google and then spent the profits on drilling wells in Ethiopia.
Dave, do you think we could turn the house into an orphanage?
Well, Martha, I think you can do whatever the hell you like. I'm moving upstate. I'm leaving you. God has given me one purpose in this life, and that is to open a drug rehabilitation center for ex-convicts.
But Dave, what about our children?
What about our children, Martha? The orphanage?
Oh, right. Of course. Okay, have fun. Sir, your 10 a.m. meeting with Kim Jong-un will be starting shortly. We've set up a perimeter.
Yes, shut up, whatever, shut up. Listen, do you think that we're spending too much on the military?
Sir?
So repent, my children, repent, for these dreams are signs from the Lord. He has revealed to each of us our true purpose.
It's working, my lord. The humans are finally doing good things with their lives. Your plan has worked brilliantly.
Yeah. About that.
Though, if I may, lord, and don't take this the wrong way or anything, but why didn't you do this, sooner?
Yeah. Close the door, would you? Now listen. I'm about to tell you something which you cannot repeat to anybody under any circumstances, okay? Be it man, angel, devil, sheep, nobody.
Even Lucy?
Especially Lucy. Jesus Christ.
Oh, what?
Nothing. My me. Right, listen, Earth. The thing is, I had this dream last night.
Oh my you.
Come on. Come on. Yes, I got it. Woo! Yeah, I got it.
What did you get?
Morality increased by 200%?
Lame. That totally sucks, man. I got a 200% chance of discovering aliens. You
Damn it.
suck.
Alright, I'm gonna relog.
And we're back. Willkommen. So that's all you gotta
Willkommen, meine
do.
Freunde.
All the problems that we've been talking about today, capitalism, politics, government, everything going to shit. All you gotta do is, get the 200% bonus on people being, not assholes to each other.
Yeah, just reload. If you don't get it the first time round, just reload the game, start again. Yeah, you'll get it next time. Just quick save, quick load.
Shoot, I could take that off into a direction. I've been thinking about the nature of... Okay, so, woo!
Ooh, Little Magnets gifted a tier 1 sub to Blue Man Bad and to Pete the Paper Boat. God, thank you very much, Little Magnets.
Excellent.
Yeah. Defragrated says, very great Trump impression. We thank you.
Very cool. Do that.
Very, well, thank you. Very cool.
I have no Trump impression to speak of. You know, it seems like such an over-the-top character should be so easy to do an impression of. I can't for the life of me get an impression of Trump out. I suck at it. I'm glad
Before
you
I
can do
did that, well, I spent a couple of times trying to get it, and so I was kind of doing the line and then like listening to a compilation of his rallies. And what I found was that I shouldn't have tried to look for his rally footage to listen to, because A, I just got very angry, but B, uh, rather than being like, yes, whatever, shut up, now listen, rather than talking to the you across the table from me, I was going, yes, whatever, shut up, now listen. At a rally. But yes, thank you. Thank you, Defrag. Glad you enjoyed.
You've derailed me. What was I going to say? Oh,
yeah, something.
This is
sure.
a little bit change of pace, but so, like, imagine, Harvey, if you will, that an entity, a sentience exists, and it's ever present. It always will be, always was. There is no such thing as time to this sentience. It's a sentient being, and it's all powerful. So basically, you've just got God here, some kind of a sentient God. It will forever last. It's forever powerful. What would it do? What would it do?
That was the end. Oh, what would it do?
No.
Okay.
It's not a legitimate question. It's rhetorical. But if you've got one.
Well, I got an answer. I mean,
Okay.
if I was such a sentient being, I would fucking make another one of me. You'd probably be really lonely. Right? Make another one of me. Have a child. Or make a partner. You know?
Hey.
Adam and Eve kind of shit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable answer. Not at all where I was going, so fuck you.
Oh.
No, what it would do, is everything. If you have a sentience that has all power and all time and nothing matters, it would do everything. Ultimately. Right? It would experience every experience. It would create every circumstance that was imaginable. All possibilities would eventually take place by a sentience that could manifest anything. Everything would happen.
I feel like that's kind of the an infinite number of monkeys and an infinite number of typewriters argument, though, isn't it? I don't think you can guarantee everything it happens just because something exists that has infinite time and infinite power. It has
I
to
think that's
choose
exactly
to
what
do
it
everything.
guarantees.
No, I don't think
if you
so.
have infinity for things to occur in, and you have to fill it with something, then you fill it with infinity, which is the
no, but you
infinity
don't
of
have to fill it with
possibilities.
something. You can fill it. You can do infinite. You can spend infinite time playing chess. That fills infinity.
Okay.
And
so you presume chess exists. I feel like you're coming at this from the idea of there's already a sentience, I have my sentience, I know what sentience is like, and I'm going to do these things. If you have just the concept of sentience as a godlike thing that can do anything, everything will ultimately happen. Why wouldn't you do everything? Like on a long enough timeline, you would play chess for eternity. No, you wouldn't. You'd play chess a lot, and then you'd go, okay, well, that's all the combinations of chess that are actually possible. Like, you would do chess every single way you could do chess, and then you'd move on from chess, or you'd find a new way, you'd put another square on the board. Now there's a new version of chess. Ultimately, with infinity on your hands, everything will happen. That's the idea.
All right. Okay. Is there another part to where you're going with this? Because I don't want to derail it with my.
Idiotic suggestions.
I will hold your point for now for the purpose of debate.
Well, it's not even but the idea is that explains why we live in such a shitty world.
Oh,
Because
okay,
everything is
and how?
happening. We are in step 7 bajillion quadrillion badalidu of everything happening. Every single possibility happening. If you, as a sentient being, could create any scenario that you possibly could, and you could create heaven, and you could create your ideal, which is apparently playing chess for eternity, you fuck sicko. If you could do everything that made you happy...
play Go for eternity, fine.
All right, now that's better. If you could do Sudoku, might be no, and there's vaster, more possibilities at Sudoku. Anyway, I don't think there are. But like, if you could make your perfect heaven experience and experience it for eternity, you'd get fucking bored. Sentient being would get bored of perfection. You would want to experience something else. Like, we are the best example of that. We, always fuck up a good thing. It's just in the nature of sentience to fuck up a good thing. You want to experience something else. If you could imagine that there's such a thing as not being happy, you create something that's all like happiness. Eventually you go, I wonder what it's like to not feel happy. And then you create an experience for yourself where you don't feel happy and where things aren't great. And then you experience that. And then you stop experiencing that when you don't want to experience that anymore. If the vastness of your consciousness could, expand to the point where the idea of experiencing momentary pain, knowing that you are an infinite being that just goes on and on and on, then momentary pain is just another experience to be had. Momentary disrest, momentary, stress, upsetness. And so we are the product of step 72,793 of the exploration of an infinite sentience who is just, exploring themselves. Just, day 1 was like, let's have everything I want. Day 2 was it was a lot of masturbation. Day 2 was a long day. It's just exploring itself, and right now what it's decided to do is create this universe in which to experience itself through all of us being generically miserable. As Trump is in office and Brexit is happening and capitalism rules and corporatism. This is just, it wanted to see what would happen, and so it made it happen, and now it's happening.
That's a good album title, Generic Misery.
I'm sure The Cure has already done
sort of generic misery. What genre? That would be some really lame psychedelic trance. Just be like... forever.
I'm thinking very much in the same vein. I was thinking shoegaze. Shoegazi, as I like to call it. Shoegaze. But yeah.
Wow.
The Matrix version 1 proved that we rejected a happy society. I'm telling you, on a long enough timeline, heaven becomes hell.
Maybe heaven was always hell from the very start.
Maybe that's what we are.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're the
Maybe
angels
the true
that
hell
left.
Is heaven.
We're the demons. But no, I like that concept. It's very much, it's nothing.
Well, it reminded me of the. This wasn't originally done by Kurzgesagt, but you've probably seen that video they did of a human dies and meets God, and God tells it that, well,
the egg.
You are all humans. The egg, that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
You are all humans, and everything you ever did was to yourself, and you are one of me. You are a god, but so what you are doing is learning by experiencing everything. Maturing, which is quite a cool idea.
Basically the same idea.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's fanciful bollocks, but I like the kind of message it ends up with.
What about this? It's fanciful bollocks, but how about this? There's no sentience, but okay. I mean,
no. See, in my view, there's no sentience.
Okay, there's no sentience. But quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics. Oh, we were very zen. Quantum mechanics is very much suggesting that all possibilities are currently happening all simultaneously at all times. Infinite dimensions that are expressed in a layer that continues on in every direction in all ways and that sort of a thing. At least it's been a concept that's come forward. we find that we exist, or that all of the substance that actually makes up our physical world and the things that we experience, at its fundamental, is just a potentiality that doesn't emerge until it absolutely has to. Until it's absolutely necessary that it emerges into a refined state. Until then, it just kind of exists in a, I don't know what to be and nobody's looking at me, so fuck it, is a very, very simplified way of, trying to contain some of the principles of quantum theory.
That's Schrodinger's wave equations. There's like there's this visualization, not visualization, but just a way of imagining that, which is it's like the waves crashing. So you literally waves, as in waves of water, and the wave is either subsiding or it's going over and it's built up enough height to crash, and then that becomes reality. But while it's a wave, it's kind of both. It's both a wave and it's just like a dimple in the water, and then like the collapse of those waves is when the process of the superposition of possibilities collapsing down to one actuality.
Yeah.
Superpositions, yes. And Mosaic Task Force brings in a nice point that they collapse when you observe them. If a tree falls in a forest, does it even fucking matter? As I believe,
fall? That would be,
goes.
the old, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, if no one's around to hear it, then it didn't fall. It didn't exist.
No, it both
because
fell
no
and
one had
didn't fall.
Yeah, that's right. It's
And
still
exist.
falling or not. It's in the process, the infinite process of falling or not falling. And then when somebody shows up because you weren't there to see it fall, then it just suddenly has to decide, oh shit, should I have fallen or not? Ah! And then it just snaps into existence in the fallen state.
I've always really liked the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy flying, because if you trip but forget to hit the ground, then the universe just doesn't notice. So long as you don't think about it, the universe doesn't notice that you forgot to hit the ground, and so you fly. But only so long as you don't think about it. Because if you do, then the universe goes, hang on, wait, you can't fucking, and then physics reasserts itself, and you crash and you die.
I like that Deep
I
Friend just
always
said,
loved that as a concept.
the tree is observed by interactions with atoms around it, which again comes back to my position that sentience is inherent to existence. The atoms are a sentient player as much as any of us are, anyway. They are all an observing player in the universe. Everything is an observing player, and in fact, when you get right down to it, the expression of differentness and separation and distinction between, say, one thing and another, one molecule and the next one person and the next one, well, that's all illusory, isn't it? Nothing really disconnecting the two of us. Look, I can reach out and oh my god! Fuck! Oh, okay, all of my philosophy is wrong. We are not one. We are not one. What the fuck just happened there? Holy shit.
What you don't realize is that in the skit that I wrote, the ending, where the boy is playing the video game and it says that all of the people prior were in the video game, that's us. But we're not the boy playing the game. We're the boys in the video game. Yeah, we're all in the video game. I believe in simulation theory. While we're spewing out random bollocks, I believe in simulation theory. Which is that if any sufficiently advanced civilization gains the ability to model a civilization, which can model civilizations, which can model civilizations, which can model civilizations, then the chance of you being in the true reality, if such a thing even exists in that situation, is so infinitesimally small that it's practically impossible. And as such, the likelihood of us being in reality and not just being simulated by some higher civilization is very small, so long as you subscribe to the idea that it's possible to model a civilization to that level of detail. However, you don't need to subscribe to that idea, because we may not be able to model a civilization to our level of civilization's detail, but that's not a requirement of the theory. It's just to model a civilization to a level of detail. Who says that what we experience right now is actually the correct level of detail? Whatever it is that's simulating us might be living in 5 dimensions at twice the speed. It doesn't matter. It's only enough that the simulation thinks it's real, which is where we are.
Well,
It doesn't
and I
matter how
would
detailed
say
it is.
that the most likely circumstance into which that would emerge, at least from our perspective, would be that, at some point in what would be considered our future, we do have that technology, and we want to run a simulation to see, like, where we fucked up or where we can do things better or something like that. And so we are the simulation of, we're at a stage that is building up to the simulation. Like, they can't just say, okay, start from here. No. In programming, it's going to be way easier if you just seed the initial conditions, say the origin of the universe, and then let the program run. Especially if you've got a really fast, server to run it on. And so they just seeded it, and they're just bringing it up to speed. And we're experiencing everything as it comes up to speed. And we're really just, all they're waiting for is somebody's sitting there going, God, it's going to be another 3 minutes before they catch up to the year 3562, where it'll actually be relevant. And we're experiencing this shit right now as though it's happening at this speed, just because it's the simulation running. This is the only way that they can get it back up to where they can test shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like the question Defrag asked is like, what would be the point? I mean, who would bother simulating Earth as it is right now? Well, for one, we would, because that's what we're trying to do constantly. But if you assume that there's no real point to simulating what's our society that's happening right now or whatever, well, who's to say that what now matters in the slightest? It's probably what will happen next, because like you said, the simulation has got further to go potentially, and so it doesn't have to be even the time that we live in right now, which is important to whoever's simulating us.
Which would also mean that probably the most likely circumstance would be that we are currently living out how the real people lived out on the way to them trying to figure out how they fucked things up so bad. So this is just, we're living out their past. We're not real, but we're living out their past. So your life, I just want you to know this, your life, not your fault at all. It was predestined by some asshole who fucked it up really, really bad for you, and you just have to live it out for them now, so that they can figure out whether or not it will save more money to put in a dam over here, whatever the fuck it is they're trying to simulate, Can we, if we move material from Mercury to the sun, is that going to create whatever it is they're doing? That's why you're suffering right now. Ostensibly, your God is your future self, who's an asshole.
Not even your future self. It's God. How do you even equate that? It's
your great-great-great-grandchildren.
Well, it's essentially a parallel universe that just happened to have already happened. But it's essentially just a parallel universe. So you are beholden to yourself, the many million parallel yous in that situation. And so don't worry, you have no autonomy or agency, and as such, you're not held responsible for anything you do. So go out and kill some people.
Just kind of. It's kind of where science stands right now, too. I mean, I think it's the predominating theory that there is no determinism, or rather, you have no self-determinism. Like it is a deterministic, reality that the way that the particles fell out of the Big Bang determined everything that was going to happen afterwards, and here we are. And so everything that's going to happen is going to happen. Every thought you're going to think was going to happen. It was all predestined. You have no real control over it. The fact that you're thinking about this right now and trying to parse it and figure out, but I still have, that was all predestined as well. No, I have. You were always going to get angry at the concept of not having any control over your life. This was all set out into motion at the beginning of time.
Sure, but so this is why I subscribe to the sentience doesn't really exist anyway, because I don't think there's anything special about consciousness and sentience and whatever. It is just neural networks that happen to have been formed as a result of what happened, as a result of what happened, as a result of what happened. And so, sure, you only think you have autonomy. right? But I think that's all that matters anyway. And so you do have autonomy because all that matters is what you think matters because it's predicated on nothing. And so it can be predicated on anything because it's not actually predicated on anything. And therefore, the only things that matter are what you arbitrarily decide matter. And you matter. You decide that it's important that you matter and that you think you matter. And therefore you matter. And therefore you think. And therefore you do have agency or autonomy because even if it only is a figment of your imagination, everything is. So nothing else matters.
You're going to check into a Zen center. This is exactly how I was. No, it's not. But everything that you're saying, I agree with, including the idea of, when you say, I don't believe in sentience and that kind of thing, I don't think that's that important. Yeah, same. Like, it's not that I don't believe it. It's just that I know that we've just, agreed societally to call it that and think of it as a certain way. But the idea that it matters, that it's important, that it's something special, no. Absolutely not. That's the whole thing, is right down to the very bottom from the very beginning. Everything is moving as it moves, doing what it does. Sentience is just, sentience emerged when when someone with enough sentience to come up with a word to describe something decided to, make the word sentience to describe a feeling that they had, which is all just, as complicated as an apple growing on a tree.
Can you imagine? God, can you imagine that? That's another skit thing, because imagine we can reuse those caveman costumes. The first man to ever think that he thinks. The first human to think about thinking. And it's just there. And then he kind of goes, what am I doing right now? What am I doing? What is this? What? Can you imagine becoming aware? Just like, I am a brutish caveman. I follow my instincts. What the fuck?
See, now that's, again, I'm telling you, you are about to put on a robe and sit on a mat for at least 3 years right now with what you're talking about, because that is exactly, that is, you've just described awakening. I mean, if you think about it, the Buddhist concept of awakening is suddenly waking up to the realization that you are what you are. Out of the delusion that you are what you aren't, that you currently believe yourself to be. You just described it.
I have, since talking to you about meditation and your experiences in the Zen Center, it has crossed my mind that if I find a day free soon, which actually is not too unlikely because, like I said to you before the show, I've kind of not been taking on more to-dos onto my list, and so I'm now nearly at the end of my kind of backlog of stuff I'm supposed to do. And so I'm free, over the weekends and stuff. I just have nothing in particular to do. Maybe I should just sit and face a wall for a weekend and just try and meditate. Yeah. I'm close to doing it, I think. I've thought about it quite a lot. But I think the main problem then is just going to be the discipline. And I imagine that's the utility of having other Zen monks around you, is that you have to fucking do that. You don't get a choice. Like, if you're in that situation, it's required of you, or expected of you, I suppose.
Yeah, that's really the only
helpful
function of the monastery and the practice and the lineage and everything, because Zen in particular has no religious shit. You won't find anybody standing on a corner saying, you need to find Buddha now! You need to join us at the Zen Center and find peace, friends! There's no proselytizing. There's none of that. Nobody's trying to sell Zen. The only reason that the places exist is because people who have found help in the process and then continued doing it and found their own happiness and that kind of stuff, keep it going so that you can have a place to go where other people are doing what you want to try, and then have, that what they had. It's the support structure. At some point somebody did this, and once they, got whatever it was that they were going to get out of it, decided that they were going to, actually help others, as opposed to just being like, okay, I got mine, see ya! And we call that person Shakyamuni Buddha, and described that process as he awakened and then chose to teach as opposed to just, drift away as a vapor on the wind. Which would just be, a sensible, that's code for just being like, why bother with anything at that point? Like, I'm happy, I've found perfect peace, stillness, I understand myself, the universe in which I live, everything is right. Why would I interact with those assholes again? But Shakyamuni Buddha did a noble thing and decided to actually interact with the assholes to see if he couldn't help the other assholes come to the same realization.
Oh, you've just reminded me of two things I wanted to mention tonight. One of them was just a thought I had earlier. You mentioned about choosing to teach. And, careers advisors. Well, you can pretty much judge a careers advisor as being worthwhile listening to only, and I mean only, if the top career they advise you to take is to become a careers advisor. Because if you think about it, why would you listen to someone trying to tell you about careers unless they were in the career that they wanted to be in?
Dude, that's a fucking skit right there. That's a skit. There's the punchline to the skit. You go to see a career advisor and then just, keep talking about, the industry you should really want to get into is career advising. It's the best industry that I've ever been in. I mean, I'm still here doing it, and I have looked at all the careers. As a career advisor,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I have tried all of the careers. I have looked at people who have those careers. If the careers advisoring is where you want to be.
Exactly, right? Like, why would you trust the careers advisor that says, well, you really want to go into collecting tax? Well,
Why aren't you doing it? Yeah, what are you doing spending your time here?
Yeah, and the second thought I had, which was slightly less amazing, has completely gone from my head because that career skit is now I'm just picturing.
Well,
what
then you
that
got the
career
skit in
would
your
look
head,
like.
and then I'm thinking of the Monty
Yeah.
Python sketch where the guy goes to see the careers advisor, and he's like, I want to fight lions, and he's like, I'm not scared of lions at all. He describes it. And what you're talking about there is actually a rabbit or something like that. It's just like describing a lion. I want to be a lion tamer, and I want to. Have you ever seen a lion? Yes, I have. Describe it to me. Oh, little cotton-tailed, fluffy thing, long ears.
I've never
Not scary at
seen
all.
that one. Which is that just in their show?
It's going to be in one of the movie-length things that's just a collection of their skits.
Oh, right. Oh.
Mm.
Oh, I can't remember what the other thing was that I said. What were you talking about? You were talking about
Shakyamuni
Zen
Buddha and
Buddhism,
teaching
Shakyamuni
and
Buddha,
coming back to talk to the
teaching,
assholes. And
come back. Haha,
yeah,
assholes
always
right.
brings it back.
Assholes.
Can't forget about them for long.
But no, so assholes. I wanted to ask you this question: do you think that assholes exist? So, i.e., do people just view other people as being assholes because they're different to them? Or are some people just innately assholes? Is it a matter of just empathy? With sufficient empathy, we're all human, we're all camaraderie, we're all in the same boat. No one's really an asshole, it's just a different perspective. Or are some people just fucking assholes? What do you think?
It's tough because, I'm supposed to be a Zen Buddhist, so it's like everybody's just. But I think the whole that concept or that argument predicates on language and the idea of, an asshole is someone who's incredibly selfish, who doesn't understand other people, who doesn't look at other people and see that they're, that they're the same thing, that they're going to experience the emotions that they would experience if something was subjected to them. And I suppose then the definition of an asshole, a proper definition of an asshole, would have to start with you have the capability to
Yes, because I was going to
perceive
say that
the emotions
I
of other
think
people, and you choose, after understanding that other people feel as you do, you choose to treat them shittily and make them feel things that you yourself would not like to feel. Maybe.
yeah, no, I agree with that because there's kind of two parts to it, isn't there? There's in order to want to no to cause someone else unneeded suffering, let's say, that makes it sound more grandiose than an asshole. But
Now he's talking about
to
suffering. The man's going to be a fucking monk by the end of the night.
to cause someone unneeded suffering, you have to be one of two things, or both. You have to either not realize that they're going to experience suffering as a result of whatever you do, or you realize and you just don't fucking care. You know,
I may
so
be
like
trying
sociopaths.
to be an asshole too. I'm getting to that point. Trying to learn to just, like, you're not my responsibility, okay? Including when you piss me off, like I'm getting so tired of like getting angry at you, and I feel like the only virtue of getting angry at you when you piss me off is that I will then be able to express to you a mirror image of yourself so that you can see that you just pissed me off and that was a shitty thing to do or say. I'm so tired at this point of being angry with you and feeling a responsibility to reflect your image that I might just become the greatest asshole in the world, aka a Buddha, and just not reflect anything at you, and just let you dump shit on my head and just walk away from you.
I like how you described that as being the biggest asshole of all, where everyone else would look at that and go, "Wow, what a virtuous soul! You know, such patience." Yeah.
But you learn so much from somebody going, "Hey, asshole! What the fuck were you doing? You didn't signal there? You cut me off in traffic? There's a guy on a bike you almost ran over. Jesus fucking..." You learn so much from somebody like pointing at you and showing you that you just did something absolutely horrible. So if I stop like reflecting that to you, what a huge asshole I am.
Yeah, how
I'm not gonna
dare you
help
not
you
help
out at
contribute
all.
to that person's improvement as a person? You know, why aren't you helping them with those assholes? That's
Master
an
asshole.
interesting reasoning.
It's a little cyclical, isn't it?
It's a little cyclical, yeah.
They have to be an
exactly.
asshole, and then you have to be, worthy of judging them to be an asshole, but you're going to be such a big asshole that you're not going to share your judgment of them as an asshole, which maybe just thinking that makes you an asshole. It just, goes round and round. It's all swings and roundabouts.
Such profound thoughts can only be found here on the Harv and Porn Show. I wanted to show this off before we end. You may remember a few episodes ago, it was my birthday, and some people at work gave me a box which contained something that, well, this. It didn't contain the letters. Is this the right way around? Is it going to be mirrored wrongly now?
It's perfect.
I'll find out in 2 seconds. It's perfect. There we go. The correct way around. Exactly. So it didn't come with the letters on it. I had to put the letters on it. But there we are. So we have et, nuap, and vra, was.
This is bringing up a real issue for me. Why is it that all of the text on the screen is backwards? I hadn't noticed that before, but all the text on the back wall in the big screen is backwards.
No, I know what you mean. The fact that this is the correct way around has suddenly highlighted the fact that all of that is wrong, hasn't it? It's
I didn't realize I was an ambidextrous reader. I've just been filtering all of this nonsense, this gobbledygook. It doesn't make any sense here. Now that I see that.
I'm an ambidextrous reader. I can use my left eye as well as I can use my right eye. Is that what that's about? I'm fairly sure. Maybe left side of your brain as well as your right side.
What would it be then if I could read reversed? I don't even notice it.
There are people who are just really good at reading reversed. I clearly am not one of those.
Oh, dyslexic. That's what it would be.
Maybe. So yes, I've got this on my desk, and I would like to actually put it here at some point. So I'm maybe going to get some string and just kind of hang it there. Is that the right place? Would be about right, wouldn't it? Maybe
Yeah, that
maybe
would
for one
work.
of the shows. Yeah. We'll get Houston to Houston. You can go down to the shops and get some nails and put this up on the wall. Yeah, I'll leave this down here for you with the
Yeah,
with the condoms.
just put it by the cot. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Thanks, Houston. Appreciate it. And with that, ladies and gents, thanks for watching the Harv and Porn Show. What a roller coaster of an episode this has been. We started off talking about capitalism. We ended up talking about simulation theory, assholes, and condoms. Have been a prevailing theme. Thank you very much for watching. Any final thoughts from the Ronin Porn himself? You got any closing statements for today's episode?
Capitalism only functions under socialist oversight.
Ooh. And with the burp on the end as well. Truly the greatest thinker of our time. Thank you for gracing us with that. And thank you, viewers at home, for watching the show. As always, we really appreciate the support. We're glad that you guys are here and are interested. Matty Hayes, however, you showed up at the very end, you fucking asshole.
Too late.
How dare you?
All of our wisdom.
Too late.
Just have to watch
Go back
it.
and watch the show
have
later.
to watch back the VOD on harv.and.roninporn.com.
Yes, and you can support the show at patreon.com/harvandporn or right here on Twitch. You can subscribe and you get the benefit of being able to vote in our discussion polls, which we kind of ignored for this episode because we didn't have any good ideas to put on the poll. So we'll fix that. And if you have any things you'd like to hear us talk about, shout it out. Suggest them to us. We'll put them on the poll and then supporters of the show can vote. So thanks for watching. And thank you to everyone who has supported us so far and continues to. And we shall see you in 2 weeks' time on the Harv and Porn Show. Harv and Porn, out.
Harv, porn, Harv, porn, Harv and porn, and 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 Harv and porn. Harv and porn.
It didn't run the credits thing. It didn't run. So I'm opening the mic to say it didn't run. So hang on. Yeah, keep dancing, because I see the problem. I'm just shaking it out now. Just gonna You just keep working it. Oh yeah, just like that. There you go. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
I don't know what kind of interpretive dance this is.
Oh yeah. Take it off. Take it. No, you're not taking anything off. Take it off. Show me them nips. Show feet. Show feet.
Show feet.
Show feet. And we're clear.